Okay, I can hear myself. I can see that. All right. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome to my stream today. We are going to be working on Coffee Companion, that iOS app I've been working on. It is a basically a coffee brewing type app where it has a timer, type in how much weight you have, all that kind of stuff. Definitely for people who like pour over coffee and really care about like the nitty gritty details that go into it. So let's see what's on the docket today. So today on the docket we have to do is, I noticed like right after I released the app, I released my last beta, that the scroll behavior was kind of weird. So the so like when you're scrolling on an iPhone on the new in here, there's also like on device. It doesn't really show it in the simulator though. It wants to move left to right, which if you just have a single column, you definitely don't want to move left to right. Just moving up and down is perfect. Oh, go back. The edit button's not aligned with the back button, so we can see it's kind of floating in midair there. And then the there's a bug where sometimes when the app goes to the background, the timer doesn't keep going. So like if I hit start here, we'll see that the timer goes. But then if I go home, so it's going to stop at 5, I come back. Oh no, it kept going. Well, if I... Great, I come back. Okay, somehow this timer stops at some point. I know that it's part of like it goes into the background like for sleep. Like I think if the phone like locks. I don't. Can I device lock? Oh, lock phone. Unlock. I think it kept going. Well, we'll see how that keeps going and whether or not it goes into the background. It might be different because it's on a simulator and not on device. But it definitely needs to keep going, or else a timer that stops is not really a good timer at all. So let's just get started with that scroll behavior thing. That should be relatively easy to fix. Like I said, I probably won't be able to fix it on device here, but I might be able to fix it. But I should be able to just specify something like a certain setting in here. So where are we going to go for that? That is under Brew Choices menu. Cool. So in here, I should be able to close that guy. And underneath scroll view, I need to do, I basically need, what I need to do is basically lock the scrolling. So whether I scroll to the left or right or up and down. And I think that is there an option to do that? I'm gonna have to Google a little bit for that just to remember. Lock scrolling in SwiftUI. How to only disable how to only disable array of views, select views. Only pass dot horizontal if you want to view to scroll, otherwise pass the empty set. So it looks like I should be able to say what I want to do at the very beginning. So scroll view dot vertical, and then I want to show indicators is false, because there should, I mean, it should be kind of obvious that you have to scroll if there's more in there, but let's see real quick. Yeah, scroll down. Like I said, I can't really tell on the simulator, but that should have gotten rid of scrolling left to right there. I'm going to plug in my phone real quick and see if it'll unbuild to my phone. That's something I should have done right beforehand. But I'm going to plug into my phone and see if it'll get rid of that on my phone. Going to increase the build here. That way I know I'm dealing with something new. I think that's what I needed. Oh, and of course that's only building to the simulator. So changing our build device to my phone. Let's see, I can get my screen to come up here. Image, video capture device. I should have had this built before. It is connected and it is available. There we go. Cancel running. We want to try again? Let's see. But it is available. It has been connected. Okay, so I don't know why that's not wanting to run on my phone. It's there. It's connected. I love when Xcode gets to be all weird. Okay, is it just not gonna... No, it's just not gonna be happy. Okay. Let's see how we can... Simulators. I don't need to download additional simulators. I just need to... Sorry, I want to get this working a little bit more. I want it to get it working on device, especially because this issue was something... See, it says it's connected. Let's try again. Build. And now it says it's not available. Go. All right, I guess it's not going to run on device. So we're just going to take that it works there, and we're going to keep going. So I don't know why it's not... That's actually really frustrating. I want to try just one more time, unplugging, replugging, and then I wonder if it's more so with the fact that okay, so it's not going to want to run. So we'll just call this need to test. I think that's done. We'll add in some notes here. I think this is done, but I'm not sure since Xcode won't connect to my phone. So this Trello is really useful in the fact that I can just do that, mark it to done, which is great. So edit button's not aligned with the back button. So under main edit, there should be in here, we have our VStack. If we open that up, nope, not main edit, under calc main, there we go. We have these opened up here. Main edit is for the menu that happens when you actually hit the edit button itself. So right here we have edit, then we get done. So main edit is this screen. I love working on the simulator. So main edit is this screen here, where you can also add in notes, all that good stuff. Cool. So what we're gonna do here is, we can see that's not level, so we really need to make that level. Where'd that text go? So edit button here. Dot padding, dot bottom, I think is our issue. If we get rid of that option there, it's going to get rid of that spacing that we have, or that I have. I know for some reason my iPhone is never available, so let's just build on simulator then. Now if you go to Chemex, that edit in that back is lined up perfectly. So that is actually going to be done. Is that not? I guess I didn't have a GitHub issue assigned to it. All right, and then the timer stops when app goes to the background. I don't know how. So then if I double click home, come back. So by killing the app, it's obviously going to stop the timer. To me, killing the app will always stop the timer, but is that how the timer app works on iOS? Is there a home? Oh, it's not included here. Of course it's not included here. That's totally fine. So clock on iOS if I have a stopwatch going, which is basically what it is, not really a timer. And then I kill timer. I kill the clock, I come back, the stopwatch is still going. Okay. So this is going to be a lot more background work, which is going to actually require me to do a lot more Googling around. Let's see. How do I want to Google this? So I feel like I need so in order to get this to work, so what happens is when we kill the app, so when we launch the app, great, home. So when we go into here, when we launch the app and we go into a new app thing, what we need to do is what we need to do here is, so when we launch the app, go into a brew method, we need to actually decide and figure out what brew method. We need to store the brew method ID, right? Yeah, store the brew method, store the timer that's going with that brew method, because I bet you if I hit start here, and I go here, see, it kills the timer even when exiting out. It's because the timer's not stored with the brew method. The timer's stored with this one view. So every time you launch the view, it's going to make a whole new timer. So this is actually a pretty unique type situation. And I wonder even if I do this, cancel, it still goes 5, so 6. And I mean, it kept going, which was good. And does it go whenever I hit notes? Notes, save. Yeah, it still keeps going. 27. Editing, notes again. Save. Yeah, I mean, it's still going to, so that is all good. It still keeps the timer going. But what we really need is more of the, so I wonder if I need to update the timer, if I need to add in a time to like the brew. That way when you exit and come back, it's there. And then I could, I guess. So there would be a time in here. Sorry, I should be somewhere where there's notes. So we would have time. So brew would need seconds passed. Seconds used for blooming, I guess. Then we would need see, I don't know how I would even get that. So like when the navigation, when back is pressed, then it would store automatically. And that's going to have to cause me to have a restart button. Seconds used for blooming, and that just automatically gets updated every second. I wonder if I'm actually doing the timer function wrong. So like how I'm doing the timer, and I wonder if I did the timer differently, if it would make a lot more sense. And it's really not a timer, it's a stopwatch. Because what I'm doing right now is basically I say when you press start, we're going to start the timer, and it's going to, and it's doing a scheduled timer, which doesn't actually keep track of time properly. In Swift, it tries to keep that time interval of 1 second, but every time I add in a line of code here for it to run, then it's actually going to end up decreasing. It's going to end up increasing. So it's not actually, so it's a little bit more than a second. So you get a little bit further off. So I wonder if there's a better way to make a stopwatch than this. Stopwatch Swift. Let's see. I just want to do a quick look and see how they do it. See, they also use the timer function, but they go at 0.1. So at every 0.1, see, timer equals timer. So it's very similar to what I'm doing. It's just a little bit different where they are getting like 0.1 of a second. Programming a simple stopwatch. Let's see, I think this might be better. It might be better to use a timer object, which calls a function that increments the value of a label from 0 onwards accordingly. And for stopping the clock, just call the timer objects invalidate. Okay, so so everyone here is always using using the timer thing. So I guess this is a valid way for me to actually work. Seconds used for blooming. So then we could do date last really it's just the date time last update, basically, which would be a way for me to say date time last update, which would be basically a the time and date that the timer last updated. That way, then I could get the current time and date. Whoops, I didn't mean to hit Command S. That way I could get the current time and date and basically use date math to just get the seconds from there to there, get that added in to make that change the private variable for total seconds. So whenever this pops up, we'll change total seconds to be whatever that is. And then if you hit the actual stop button, total seconds should actually go back to 0 no matter what. I think that will work. Will that work? I think so. So let's go add in inside brew method. We're going to say, what did I say I needed in here? Well, I guess if I'm just doing, yeah, I need the seconds used. And that should just be an integer. So this XC data model modeled file that I'm using here. So this is basically like how I'm structuring my data inside the app. Brew method is just going to be what holds all the info that's used inside this for a brewing method. So like all of this info, well, the coffee to water ratio, the amount that you are grinding to use, and then like the time for blooming, and then the bloom ratio, which if you had to edit, when you go to edit, I promise those errors don't happen only in the simulator. You can actually change the bloom ratio, all that good stuff here. All of that is stored based on these attributes here. So then this is going to be timer last updated. Just to make sure I'm thinking about this right, does date in Swift include time? Working with dates in Swift. It does not provide methods for creating dates, comparing dates, calculating time. Okay, it does not do anything related to date format, right? It provides method and does not. It is able to calculate the time intervals between dates. Create a date by adding okay, so I think this is actually going to be useful. All right, so we have this timer last used date, last updated date, the bloom length, the bloom ratio, and seconds used. Okay, so then inside timer view, that's gonna be great. This was the one place I didn't think that I would actually end up updating in core data, but we'll see. I'm going to assume it's something to do with iOS's resource management with it sorry, I just saw it in the chat here. With iOS's resource management with it putting apps into a sort of stage one. Yeah, so this background, so what's happening is when I go off of the when I go back and forth, yeah, the resource management gets iOS is really aggressive with its resource management, which is why a lot of people say it feels snappier than Android. I can't say that myself because I don't use Android at all. So like what happens is if the app gets killed in the background or it just goes into a background state, the Apple just says, hey, this app is going to pause and we're not going to like run anything else in it. So it's kind of nifty in the fact that I don't have to worry about a lot of that resource management. I still don't want to use that much memory in the app. But then stuff like this happens where if if I start doing something else on the phone, like maybe I go to a different app, I go to Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff while the timer's going, then the timer cannot, then the timer just pauses and doesn't know what else to do. It just waits till it comes back into play, and then it will hopefully continue. But whenever it pauses, it's because of how my code is right now, it just stops literally on that second. So if I went to Instagram at 10 seconds and it decided to put my coffee companion in the background, then when I come back to coffee companion, it just keeps counting from 10 seconds. So I'm trying to work around that a little bit. I'm also trying to work around the fact that this initiates a whole new timer. So when you come back in, the timer doesn't immediately start going or doesn't keep it going. And I think there's a way to do it. I also need in here, is timer going? Well, I don't think I want an is timer going, because then I would have to, in SwiftUI, do I have access? Like I know in regular UI kit, like if you were to use a UI kit view, you have the opportunity to say on appear and on disappear do things. So like if I was talking about UI kit here, I could do an on disappear method. I could go in the on disappear and actually update my core data basically that says is timer going is set to true, and set it how it needs to be. But I guess, well, no, it makes sense to want to do this here, I think, because if I have an is timer going here, I could just turn it to false once stop is, so once you hit stop, that goes to false because you've actually, as the user, have stopped the timer. Whereas if you hit go and you go back and you come back in, you actually haven't stopped the timer. Okay, so I think it makes sense to have that in here. So let's see. Cool. I don't need that anymore. That was just my scratch pad for the notes while I was thinking out loud, which is good. All right, so is timer going? Great. So in timer view though, I gotta get the brew method in here so I can edit those options. So calc main. So this is going to be the coffee to water ratio. I'm gonna mark these up a bit so that I can just quickly glance what things are. And then what's cool is, I know I say this like almost every single time I do a live stream, but by marking, it then adds adds whatever note you put after the mark into your outline here. So if I really needed to just quickly jump to coffee to water ratio, if I was at the bottom, it'll take me right there. Foreground, coffee to water ratio. Great. This is going to be the coffee amount water brew notes Mark timer view. Cool. So inside that timer, what we're going to do is we are going to save our brew method. And it can bring in a brew method, and we're just going to get that. Hey, I am your average gamer. Welcome to the mess that is my app. Thanks for dropping by and showing some support. Water. Okay, so in here, I have that brew method. I can't do anything except in this timer view. Right here, we're going to do brew method. And that's going to just take in a brew method. Cool. So that should now be happy. This red should go away, I hope. It is quite complicated, actually, which is why I end up putting in a lot of comments and notes so that I don't get lost completely. So all of these with a slash are just comments so that I can know what I'm doing. If you're familiar with programming, it's not too terribly complicated, but it's a little bit complicated before you know what you're doing. My wife is very much like man, I don't know what I'm looking at every time I look at your computer screen, basically. Cool, so I got to build. That's great. I also need in here my core data my manage object context. That way I can actually update I can update my options inside this brew method. That way it's always stored. He's got master in informatics. He tried to teach me coding. Yeah, well, that's cool. I slightly wish I had gone to school for this. This has all been like my side stuff. So I've done all of this like self-teaching basically. I did a couple courses in college, but like my main, what I studied in college was actually theater. And my job pertains to like lighting and entertainment lighting. So this has actually all been self-taught, and I've deep dived into like iOS development in the last 2 years. This has been fun. But I did start off in high school learning a little bit of Java here and there. How did you take to programming at all? I am your average gamer. And most people actually get started coding in like people my age and a little bit older with MySpace and stuff like that. So I'm lucky that I started like 2 years ago, where Swift was pretty much like an all right establishment, that I just completely bypass anything Objective-C related, unless I find something on Stack Overflow that I need to like copy and paste in. But I found it pretty easy to wrap my head around. It slightly reminds me a bit like Python, well, especially with the no semicolons at the end and stuff like that. And the fact that you don't always need to, it's a type safe language, but you don't need to specify your types. So Objective-C has always looked a little bit to me like too like much to go into. I coded a horse racing game. That wasn't nothing to brag about, but that's the extent of my coding experience. That is more than what some people can do or have even tried. To be honest, though, that horse racing game was probably better than what I've seen out and about in the world, and honestly better than like my first couple programs probably. Cool. So we have here, I have that environment object. Do I need my brew method manager in here? It updates stuff. And that just kind of helps keep my business logic a bit more separated. So I think I am going to go ahead and write a new function in here. So basically, I try to keep my code a little bit separated out where my views strictly hold the view information. And then once, so I kind of try to go by the MVC architecture, model view controller a little bit. So the control, and I might be wrong with my interpretation of this, but so don't hold me to it if I am. But so my view here is great, but whenever I go to edit my options, we'll just click here. When I go to edit my options here, if I hit save, that save is then actually done inside this brew method manager. It's not actually done inside, it's not actually done inside the view itself. So inside this calc main, or inside the edit view, it's actually done inside this here, this method here, or function here, this class here, so that or struct, sorry. So that it's just a little bit more breaking out. My code isn't super duper long in the file. It just helps a little bit in that respect. So instead of, I guess I could just update the whole brew method and keep adding to it, because it has to perform that fetch request anyway. Or I could just have a small little section of it that does it. Func update, and we'll do this after. So we're gonna make a whole new function. Update timer options context ns managed. Xcode, or the IDE that I'm in, also like helps me out a lot, because I don't need to do a whole, like, it has all those like the fact that I started typing ns manage object and it came up with what I needed. Like, it does a lot of that, like, fill in the gaps for me, which is nice. So that I don't have to actually know right off I don't have to keep typing if I don't want to. And it also helps me fill in the rest of the method functions or methods that I have to do. So we need to actually get this fetch request. Thanks for the follow, Kill Switcher. I appreciate it. Okay, updated brew. Oh, because I just called it brew method. We'll call it updated brew here. Whoa. It's a fun little time to get to just dive right in to see the code. Cool. And then we need to actually do this part. So basically it's really similar from this up here. It's just, this is going to be a lot more specific to just update those timer options rather than having to update the entire brew object itself, brew method object. So do. And I know you're supposed to do a lot more with errors than just print them out. So like if this was to fail for any reason, it would just print inside the inside down here what happened. But that doesn't really do much for the user. Well, thanks for liking my shelf. I really appreciate it. It's a my room got to have a lot of all of our pop figures and stuff in it, so it's been fun to start filling those out. So like my whole back wall is like basically a whole shelf. Like all the shelves keep going even off camera. So it's a lot. So we basically got to fill up the shelves with just a bunch of our nerdy stuff in here. Yeah, so let's test equals try context. So the reason why I have to do a do catch here is because fetch request. So we have this do and then this catch option here is that is because of this let test thing here, and then the fact that we have this and this try context.save option line that we have to do at the end. So if for some reason context.save fails, that's when the catch comes into place. That way it doesn't have to completely crash the program. Whereas if I didn't have like a catch, it could just completely crash the program, and well, that's not a good user experience. Let brew update equals test at 0. as !ns managed object. Cool. So now we, so how many games have you made? I've actually made no games. I have not gotten into game development. I did a couple years ago, I worked at a computer science camp. So I walked kids through how to make games. And that was fun. It was cool to watch them see and watch them actually get it. But I've done a couple apps here and there, just iPhone apps. So right now it's a coffee brewing app. So if you do pour over coffee or whatever you want. So this is what this app is for. I've done another couple apps for the lighting community specifically. So my background is in theater lighting. So I work product support for one of the manufacturers in there, and there were some things that just kept having to be over and over and over again that I'd walk people through. So instead of having to walk people through, I decided to make an app that made my life easier, because I would just have to do the math over and over again. So basically a fancy calculator. And then I made another one that was catering to making a remote for our product that was specifically for what I wanted. And I figured other people would like that as well. So unfortunately, I've made no games. I would like to at some point dabble in game development, but I'm not good with the design and art stuff. So I haven't tried that. Don't get me started on professional lighting gear. Do you like Caceres, are you good at professional lighting? Are you inside that world? Thanks for mentioning that I'm self-taught. I am your average gamer. You get a headache at the idea of trying to do stuff like this. It's what it really helps that I actually enjoy it. I think, I know I said at the beginning that I wish I had gone to school for computer science, and so that I had more of that background in here. But I think that this is actually a little bit, I think it helped coming from the outside world to get this perspective, because then it's not something that I just I got bored of because I needed to do it for an assignment or something like that. So basically anytime I work on it, I get to just have fun and enjoy and do something that I really like. Just a little bit. My wife thinks I'm also slightly crazy for doing stuff like this. Brew update. So we're going to do a brew update dot set value. And we need to so when we update this timer options, we need to update the updated brew dot timer last used for key timer last updated brew update dot set value updated brew dot seconds used for key seconds used. Yeah, and that should be it that we have to do here. So then we get to actually save this. Context.save. You've been in and out of theater and live gig entertainment space since you were 16. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you definitely get to travel a lot with it, depending on what exactly you do with it. Right out of school, I got hired by High End Systems. So I did a bit of... So I've been able to just stay right here in Texas, which is actually what I really wanted. And they have me traveling all over the U.S. to do tradings on their consoles. But that's awesome. I have a lot of friends that actually or I've met people through this, and they've become friends that have gone all over the world also with their gigs. A couple of them work on cruise ships. A couple of them tour with bands. Some are just up in New York and working out there or attempting to get work with all this COVID stuff happening. Yeah. Video editing is also a beast of its own. It's hard to do, especially I don't like video editing as much, and I also don't like animation as much as something else outside of coding. It just the programs are a little bit clunky, and it took a while to actually like understand exactly like what does this one number do, like, and how does that affect everything. Okay, so we have that updated here. So now inside timer view, we're going to make a new struct. Let BMM equals brew method manager. Great. Cool. All right, so what we're going to do here is, so when I guess I really need to know if I can have access to that on disappear. Swift UI view, Swift UI on disappear. There we go. Hacking with Swift is awesome if you're just trying to learn anything with Swift and Swift UI. Paul is a great resource here. Oh, duh. There's just a duh on disappear. I don't know why I thought there was something different. I bet you are. It's not everyone's cup of tea to always just do it over and over again. A lot of my videos end up with me just going back into my old project or other projects that I've done, and I'm like, oh, I know I've done something that I want to do here, so let's copy and paste that out. And it works, and I'm like, great, so we're gonna copy here, paste here, and explain why it works that way. But I mean, but I totally understand it's not for everyone. Okay, so when the timer is going, total seconds gets incremented anyway. So we really need to do so var brew method. Do I have a dot on appear? So basically what the on appear is going to say is when I launch this VStack, or when you first see this view, then it can get the total seconds. Then I can start doing something. So I can say on appear, we can set values. So I'm going to make a new function here that so as soon as this shows, it's going to call and do whatever's inside set values. Stop button. Stop. Great. Func set values. So basically we can say total seconds equals brew method dot seconds used. And I just need to take that int 64 back to an int, to a regular integer, something with types, and like 64 bits for an integer versus 32. But it's all an integer at the end of the day. It's just how much space is actually allocated for the computer figures out. Okay, so seconds, total seconds, timer is going. Needs to actually update also. Timer is going equals brew method dot is timer going. You know, you say they're useless facts and statistics, but they do have real world trivia. I mean, they do have real world value. Like you just said, trivia is also useful. I mean, And also being able to talk about random facts and stuff is actually a really nice skill to have, to just bring up and know and at least have a little bit of knowledge based on what you're going for and what the conversation is. Like, that's actually a really good, like, skill to have to go talk with other people. Total seconds. Timer is going. Great. I'm going to do something here that I probably shouldn't do. If timer is going. So if it's true, then we are going to start the timer here. Nope. What did I do wrong? I spelled something wrong. Yep. The issue is, one of my main things that gets me is I spell something or I mistype a word and then it just goes away. And I'm like, no. Or like there's an error. And I'm like, but it looks right. But no, it doesn't. It's not right because it has to match exactly the same. All right, so we have timers going. And that's going to start the timer. If it is, total seconds gets updated. I guess minutes and seconds needs to be updated also. Did I just do that with a function? No, I did not do that with a function. Inside start timer though, if self.seconds is greater than 59. See, so I have total seconds plus 1 to just keep track of the total seconds. Then if we do a... Gotcha. So I still don't have... I still need like a formatting time option so that I can update these... the time here. Well, self.time at 1, at 0. Yeah. So I can update the seconds and the minutes. And then update the time options. So let's do... I mean, it's really just going to be the exact same thing here. Temp time in, if self.seconds greater than or equal to. So then we always add 1 to total seconds, time at 1. So if total seconds is, so we basically need to format the time here for total seconds. Format time. Natural talent to be able to pick up a conversation, which is, again, that's a really good talent. Well, and that's also a really good talent for like streaming, to be able to just talk about anything. I mean, it's just like, I end up having to go to a lot of trade shows and stuff and like entertaining clients and stuff like that in my day job. And sometimes I just get really anxious because it's like they get into a topic that, or I'm scared they'll get into a topic that I just have no idea about. Like, for a while, sports, like I just don't care for a lot of sports except for hockey, which lots of people don't care for hockey. So it's like, great, you're talking about football and I'm just going to twiddle my thumbs because I can just keep up with the Texas teams and that's about it. So what's the purpose of the app and what will it be able to do? So the purpose of the app is that it is basically, so if you are not familiar with like the coffee making scene, basically for Chemex, it's a coffee brewer, pour over coffee brewer. You usually measure out how much coffee you grind, which is this coffee amount. And then you put in and then you get a set water amount that you go towards. So like usually for 1 cup of coffee, it'll be like 16 grams of coffee. And that tells me how much water I need to pour in for the pour over. And then there's also like this bloom function, this blooming method. And this blooming part of it is just like you only put in some of the water, you let it breathe, and then you continue putting in the water for the set amount of time though. that's specified here. So it basically just does all of that inside an app for me. You know, I was that way for a really long time, and then I got onto Reddit, and Reddit is the danger of all expensive hobbies, and coffee brewing turns out can be a very super expensive hobby. But we also use the Keurig. Like, right, I ran out of coffee beans, so now we just pop the Keurig in. And it's perfect because you just hit the little button and it goes. But this is more so for like the people who just like to be fancy in the mornings or have like a coffee routine. There's apps that already exist out in the world that do this. I was using a function inside pCalc, like in the third-party app, where you can oh, awesome, thanks so much, I appreciate that, Kill Switcher. I have to look into how auto host works. It's just not something I'm too familiar with. But what I was doing is on this app, like where the idea for the app came from is I use pCalc, the third-party calculator app, and they have a functions part. So I can always go and I type in how much my coffee weighs, how much my coffee grind weighs, and I go into that function and it would tell me how much water is needed, how much water is needed for the blooming, but it never had it for the time, but I couldn't have a timer built in. So I did, so this is where this came in, was so that I could just get the timer also built in at the same time. Yeah, exactly. It's for the coffee aficionados. I have no idea if you spelt that word incorrectly also, but I understood. Yeah, it's for the people who are too obsessed with coffee and want that perfect cup every single time. So really, actually, before starting the timer, we need to actually, before starting the timer is when we need to format the time, because once we start the timer, that's when this is going to happen. So I need to do seconds equals total seconds divided by 60. No, so that's going to be the minutes. Equals total seconds divided by 60. And then the the seconds equals basically that remainder. And what's really cool is most programming languages use this percent sign to get that, whatever the remainder would be. So basically, I'm just doing minutes divided by 60, and because these are both integers, it's just going to take the integer part of it. So like if I did 120 divided by 6, or 150 divided by 60, it would only take the 2 instead of the 2.5. Whereas the total seconds with this percentage is going to get that 0.5, but not as 0.5, it'll get whatever the remainder is. And then I need to actually set that up. So time at 0 equals minutes, I think. And time at 1 should equal seconds. Again, I think that's right. So it's minutes, seconds. Yes. Awesome. And it's mad because it wants it to be a string instead of an integer. So this works. Multiple cursors are amazing. So if you hold down Control and Shift in Xcode, you'll start to get multiple cursors, and it's still upset because I haven't put in quotes. So that, like, for what I just did, where I had to add in quotes multiple times, I didn't have to go and navigate. It just worked. Okay, so the only issue is now I still don't have a way to calculate the total seconds. So that's total seconds used, but I still need a way to get the total seconds from the date for the time to here. So what did I call that? I called it timer last updated. So let current date equals date So just doing date like this is going to call today's date, whatever current time it is. Let old date equals brew method dot timer. Awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate you stopping by. Kill switch. I really appreciate it. Thanks for dropping by, and also thanks for chiming into the app. Into the chat. Or date. So if for some reason there is not a timer last updated, then we can just give it a default value of the date. And now it's just upset. These little yellows aren't really upset. They're just saying, hey, these values haven't been used. Are you sure it's necessary inside to have these values in here? And I'm going to say, yes, it is, because I'm about to use them. Get seconds between two dates, Swift. Get 2 times. I guess that'll work. The recommended way is calendar. Date math is calendar and date components. Okay, so then we can say inside date components from and to. Oh, that should. Okay, let's try it. So let calendar with, I would be nowhere without Stack Overflow, because it really helps keep. If I Google a question, someone has probably asked it before. Let difference equals calendar dot current dot date components so from dot so basically I have to get the current date from here. It looks like also needs to be date instances. A date formatter is not needed though. So what, can I just say dot out dot? See, the issue is that this might hour. Let's just try it. Dot minute dot seconds. No, it's upset. Why? It does not have that. Okay, so let's do can't find difference in seconds between dates. Oh, I bet I don't even need a current date. So let difference equals date, current date dot time interval since returns the interval between the receiver and another old date. I think that's actually what I needed. I really just want to print that difference. Okay, so that should give me, if it's 0, that should just give me 0 all the way down. And then I need to say when we start the timer, every time this is done, we need to actually update in the brew method manager. So let's do this as a as a new value, as a, whoops, come back, I need you. So what are we going to set this as? So we're going to set this as a start timer, timer equals, great, stop timer, set values, function, update brew method. Yeah, I guess that's right. So well, actually, I think I should be able to just do brew method dot bloom length. Let me just see if that works without an error. Yes, it does. Awesome. So I actually don't think I need that function. I think I can just do it here. Brew method dot is timer going equals true. We don't need to set that every single time. We can actually just set it timer is going. And then in here we can do brew method dot seconds used equals total seconds. Again, the more I add in here though, the more that this time builds up. But we're gonna see if this actually makes too much of a difference. Dot time last updated equals date. And it's because it's inside a closure, it needs the self dot. That way the function knows where to look. Awesome. It's probably really dark and it's probably getting dark in here. I'll need to go and adjust that in just a second. Oh, and I haven't actually updated the brew method yet. So every time that gets called, we need to do self.bmm dot update timer options here. Welcome back. So in context here, we're gonna do, this would be the MOC, self.moc, or else it's gonna go set again. And then updated brew is gonna be self.brew method. Great. Now that should update there. Oh, and then I need to actually set this right in here. So whenever I stop the timer, we need to set the total seconds back to 0, all that kind of stuff. Brew method dot timer last updated equals date. Brew method dot seconds used equals 0. Brew method dot is timer going equals false. Is that it that I really have? I think so. And then once I can see what that difference is, that'll play a factor into what I do next. Here, right, because it did that 0, 0. I need to actually do the string formatting. So this formatting option actually gives me that padding to get that 0, 0 instead of just the single 0. Self.seconds here though. There we go. I think that should give me back to 0, 0. Start. And I think, hey, it's still going. If I stop, come back, go back in, and starts back at 0, 0, which is perfect, as it should. So I killed it at 5. I came back at 5, and now I start here. For some reason, maybe you have 2 going at the same time. This did not get right, but it did keep going. Oh, because there's only one timer function at a time that can go. Oh, that's interesting. So for some reason, the start button and the stop button aren't coordinating correctly. Okay, but why are these... Stop. Start. Stop. If I hit start again, it should go back to 0. Okay. Sorry, a lot of this is like figuring out exactly what's going on. See, that isn't... Oh, I didn't update it again. Ha ha ha. That's what's going on. Okay, so everything came back. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete these real quick. That way we're only dealing with 2. Stop. Start. Stop. Now if I come back here, we started back at 0, 0. If we go in here, we're at 0, 0. I think even if I quit the app, and I come back in, it started at 5 though. But I don't think that is... I probably didn't have enough time to actually push that. Okay, so that was only like a second behind. So it probably didn't have it. It's probably running out of time to actually get it synced while it's in the background. I'm going to say though, I'm going to add in something just for... Because killing the app that way where you double tap and then you swipe up is definitely not the expected way to ever kill an app. But in here, I am going to call a .on disappear. And we are going to say we update one more time of everything. On disappear. Great. That way, whenever you close out, it for sure gets one more save in before you go into another thing. Let me run, and I think I have actually completed all the tasks that I needed to get done today. Except I can't really check. I, for some reason, haven't been able to check the scroll behavior is weird. But I can do that on my real device. In a second, I wonder if I unplug the device, unplug it, it'll be better. Cool, and I go back out. So I stopped it at 11, I came back in here, and it still went. So the only issue is sometimes these will swap spots. So that's going to be something, I just wonder if it's, go back, something I can do. Stop. Great. There shouldn't be anything else for you to come in. 56. Why is it still going? Stop button, start button. So when you press the stop button though, it does the stop timer. Timer is going, timer is validated, timer going equals false, so it should stop it. See, like, it's still... It's like it didn't update the timer told the seconds used to 0. Stop running. Just stop. There's no reason. Okay, so it updates, it sends that update timer, updated brew. I wonder if I forgot to update something inside brew method manager. I did. Seconds used. Okay, yes, I did. So I forgot to update the fact that it stops timer. Brew update dot set value updated brew dot is timer going. Is timer going? I think that should solve it now that that's going to be updated. Chemex. Stop. 0, 0. And look, this is no longer going. Can I stop it? Great. Start. And that's just updating. Stop. Go here. Great. And it doesn't look like it's going anymore. Same with Chemex. It's no longer going. Awesome. So I think that is done then. Sweet. So one thing I do want to try doing first before... Oh my goodness, why are there 17 text messages? Ugh. Sometimes, like, when my notifications get above, like, 5, I start stressing out because I'm like, why? Am I missing something that's important? I hope I'm not. I'd hope that if there was something that was important, they would end up calling me, but it doesn't look like it. Cool. All right, so we are going to now, like I said, that order thing. So really, it should go by the timer last updated. So whenever the timer is last updated, unless you have 2 timers going at the same time, then this can just flip. What if we do a brew choices menu? So in here, I can actually set what's called a predicate, and the predicate is going to allow me to sort these entities by a specific value. I want to sort descriptors. I want that sort descriptor. I think for now, I think I want it alphabetized. That way it just stays in the right order. It doesn't matter when you last used it. It's just always A to Z. Where did hacking... SwiftUI core data fetch request. NS managed fetch request in SwiftUI with sort. Maybe that'll help. What is the app fetch request property wrapper? Again, if you are any way interested in Swift or SwiftUI, hacking with Swift is like the best thing I can say. Oh, well, that's... So we just need to create an NS sort descriptor. Hi, Sydney. She is very much used to being able to be in here while I stream. So whenever I do work streams, because sometimes I'll do live streams for, I mean, every week I do live streams for work, she gets very upset that I will not let her in here. She actually, so like, that's going to be brew method dot title. Is that what I called it? Yeah, so she gets super duper upset. Title, yeah. Whenever she doesn't get, okay, so slash. Whenever she doesn't get to be in here, or like if I'm recording a podcast or something, she gets super upset about it. So she goes to, and she just stands right outside the door and yells. And yesterday, whenever I did my work thing, you could actually hear her yelling you could hear her yelling over the through the door. Like my gain was turned all the way down, and you could still hear her yelling through the closed door. She's a little bit of a brat. Cool. And that actually put it right in line. I wonder where numbers fall in. Back. Okay, cool. Yeah, so editing the name will allow you to change the order, which totally makes sense. Test title. Save. Yeah, cool. Sydney, what are you doing? Ugh. And then sometimes she just goes into my closet and climbs. So what I think I also got a report of doing, and I want to kind of fix this before the next beta, which the beta is actually going to will be out later today, is that the keyboard on the phone covers up the save button, which obviously I don't see right now because don't connect hardware keyboard. And because I just use my built-in keyboard on my computer. Oh, you're fine. I wasn't really talking. No big deal. I am your average gamer. I'm just talking out loud and saying what's happening because why not? Oh, what? Sydney. Oh, I'll be right back. She's Sydney, what are you doing? No, you can't. All right, sorry about that. The cat decided that the best place for her to be was in my closet, which is nothing out of the ordinary. But then the what she did was she somehow got and on top of like the hangers, like the plastic hangers, like in between the hanger and the top of the shelf right above the closet, in the closet. So she was climbing and walking across the hangers, and I had to make sure I got her out before that turned even worse. So we still have the save button here, but I wonder if we right. I'm just gonna type in a bunch of letters here. Okay, so no, that's right. How? Oh, Sydney. She's yelling again. Can you make sure not to go in the closet? Okay. Cats just run my life, apparently. Okay, so if I save that, yeah, we're there. But, and I guess I need to test this layout a bit more on the smaller devices. So yeah, if I tap here, it's here. I click in here. Save is right there, but let's see if I can come up with an answer. How to keep... Cats are weird. They are, they're a handful. We have 2 dogs and 2 cats, and it's a handful in here. The dogs are fine. They just lay down. They can be in here and they just lay down. They don't care. They go to sleep just like they would if they were out in the living room right now. What am I looking for? How to keep view above keyboard, SwiftUI. And the kittens are even weirder because they don't actually know how things work in life. Propagating keyboard height changes with so we could do it with combine. Whenever iOS keyboards appear, it overlaps parts of your interface. It sends a keyboard will show notification and did show. So I'm just going through this tutorial that kind of explains like how this may or may not work. Oh, I see. See, I wonder if I just moved it up more rather than just keeping it in the center. Because, like, there's no reason why brew methods can't be all the way up there. Brew notes section. Brew notes just. So what? Dot padding. Dot bottom. Like, there's no reason why the... And then you click on it, and you can type in what you want. It could even go a little bit more. So we can actually just give it a 10. Part of this is also figuring out the design and how like I sketched out a lot of the design, but I didn't really know like what colors and how far I wanted it down and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I think that will work, and I think I'm going to do the same thing for the coffee amount then. Instead of having it just have a giant space at the bottom. Oh, whoops. Paste, coffee adjust. Instead of Wow. So coffee amount should now do pretty much the same thing. You click in and you can type. Time notes can also do the same. Click in and you type. And then, yeah, so I think that actually solves that issue. So that was, I think all of these apps got done. I think they were all done. All these tasks. So into here. And I'll add this as done here as well. I know that I didn't start out with it on the list, but that's okay. Save button is out of the way. Move save button. Really, save button collides, gets hidden, is hidden by keyboard on devices. And that was a bug. That was a user reported bug actually that I got. Cool. And then one other thing I wanted to check was just like going to a smaller size phone. We'll take it to an iPhone SE and run that. Since I don't have all the devices that I can actually test on, it has to go to the different devices. So it's great because Xcode has all of these devices built in. So like all of these different types of phones, different iPads, stuff like that. The Android Studio, I think is what it's called, does as well. For a lot of the name brand phones. So I think like Samsung and of course the Pixels. I do not, and it's perfectly fine for me not to be an Android developer with all of those stuff. Go in here. We still get the start here, which is good. That's what we needed. I wonder if I put this inside a scroll view while the timer was still there, if that would be better. Because I bet you if I do, stop that mess. Add additional simulators. iPhone SE, but I want the first generation. So the iPhone SE is like the size of the iPhone 5S, like the first generation iPhone SE at least. Close that. We also don't need you open. So that's like the size that I'm really concerned about. Just to make sure. Look, and now the cat is actually all distracted by whatever's happening outside my window. And she just goes like it's just like 180, like she's off the walls and bouncing around, or she is actually by the window. So it's working on launching it. Add, go here. All right, so we can see it's actually a lot messed up, it looks like, because there's no actual scroll. So I wonder if I scroll view, I want to put all of this into the timer inside a scroll view. In the coffee ratio, because that doesn't make sense to put inside a scroll view. So what the scroll view will allow me to do, it basically acts like this VStack already. So when I say that, like it just brings everything like this, but it should make a certain part scrollable. So you can scroll in up and down on only part of the window is hopefully what happens. So like we only see coffee amount here, water amount, but then you scroll and you can see more. But like the important part is after you put your coffee amount, the important part is this total water, the water for the bloom and the bloom time, which honestly, the time for bloom isn't even necessarily that important because, I mean, as you run the timer, what'll happen is once we hit that 45 seconds or whatever you have set for the bloom time, it is going to, what's it going to do? It will store that information. So it will turn 45 seconds. It'll turn orange, just like up here is orange. Hopefully. That's the goal at least. 34, 35, 6, 7, 9, 10. Only 3 more seconds. Yeah, so it turns orange, and once it turns orange, the bloom time is done. Stop, and if you start it again, it starts over. Back, go back in. Great. I'm gonna get rid of that, like, printing real quick also, and then I'm actually gonna call this done, and I'll write up. I know, right? The SE is like, or the 5S or what 5, like that design is super old, but I love it. I actually had it as a work phone for a while, and it was great. Like the small of it, like how small it was just amazing, and it actually fit in most pockets. It was awesome. I forgot what I said I was gonna go do something, and then I completely forgot what I was gonna go do. Oh, get rid of the prints, and that is in the timer view. I don't need to print the difference. Well, is it even using the difference? No. Is it even using difference? I don't think it is, but I should have it do that. Quote difference. Man, but the only downside to that phone size is literally it is super tiny. Like, I mean, the point is for it to be tiny, but the point is for it to be tiny, but like doing email and stuff that everyone's like used to now, it just doesn't make sense. The difference was 0.25 seconds. If I go back. The rumors in the supply chain, the 12 is going to go back to an iPhone 4 type design. Man, I hope so. That was such a slick design. Now, granted, I killed my iPhone 4 by, how did I kill it? It was awful. I killed it because I was skateboarding and I fell and it was in my back pocket and I killed the back side. But man, that was a really well designed phone. I would also be down if it went back to like how the iPad Pros are currently, with the flat sides, like I guess like 5 and 5S style, and just be like a slate of glass on the front with the metal on the back. That would also be super slick and super nice. Stop. So 35 is where I stopped it. All right. Ugh. It's still going. Whether or not there's a difference, the difference is actually there. It kept it going. But I still haven't updated it. Old date or date. Difference. Dot. Oh, interesting. Can I just put an int? Like, is that going to do the same thing as like the percentage does, where it just drops? I guess we will find out. And so I'd be super happy. I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed the 10 style like design that we've had for the past couple years. Like, it has been a fun design phone. Like, it looks nice and all that good stuff. But difference is 19. Was it 19 seconds? Let's go back and come here. Okay, so what if we 25? So the new yeah. And it just I also really liked the 5S and the new iPad design. Like, I would be so down to go back to those. It's funny how it's starting to come back to that more. Like, we've circled back around. It says there is no difference. Why is there no difference now? Okay, I think I don't need to calculate the difference anymore now that it's just doing that total seconds used. Oh, because, well, no, that doesn't. Timer last updated. We get the. Oh, thanks for the follow, Casserus. I appreciate it. Does it give notifications or sound alerts? It does not yet. Actually, I need to add that as a 1.0 feature to do. Give notifications and sounds when bloom is done. So it does not. Yeah, I'm really curious how dub is gonna go. Especially with it being like all remote. Also, like, no one's actually there seeing it in person, so I'm curious if how, like, what's pre-recorded versus not. And then for this app, it does not give notifications or sound alerts, but I do want to give notifications and sound alerts when it's done, when like the bloom is done. Also, I saw this really cool article about how to make like particles inside SwiftUI, so I thought that would be kind of cool in like the timer view. So when the bloom is done, it could have like coffee beans or something like that everywhere on the screen. But it's gonna take, I mean, it just is stuff that needs to get added in, and I need to actually like watch the videos and read the article about how to do that. It would just be something fun. Basically, like, I built this app because how I do my coffee, and I don't know if this is how it's supposed to be done, is I don't have like a set amount of time that the coffee has to be brewed in. It's basically like when you pour the water, as you start pouring the water for the bloom, because I do a lot more pour over than I do anything else. Pour over and Keurig, those are like my two things. But as soon as you put the water in for the bloom, that's when I hit the timer to start going. And I really only care about those like 45 seconds, like that the blooming is going to happen. Or some people do a minute, some people do a minute and a half, or 30 seconds. So I really only care about that time. And then I like to keep track of when it's done, like what time is actually done, just in my own head, to be like, oh yeah, it's been like 10 minutes. That should be actually really good, like temperature wise, cooled down and stuff like that. But I do know that some people would probably want like a stop, like an actual timer, like it's going to count down from 10 minutes. But I don't know how that looks yet, also, to do that part. But yeah, it's on my to-do for the notifications and the sound. Oh, cool. So you're from the UK. That's awesome. But yeah, being more of a tea person probably does come from that. And I have no idea how tea is done. I'll be honest. I'm US based, and so lots and lots of coffee. And I never really got into the tea thing unless I am sick. And usually that's just, we're going to boil some water, put the mint or the mint bag in, and then put some honey and pour that hot water over that bag of tea, and that would be about it. But maybe there might be a way to make this work for more tea-type applications as well. Cool, so notifications sound when done. I'm still trying to figure out why exactly I was trying to do this difference thing. If it's not working out exactly. I feel like the date just isn't getting the time. For some reason. So I'm going to actually comment these out because I don't think it's too necessary. Like, I get that it's necessary, but unless I still don't not quite know why it's not getting any type of difference whatsoever. Because I thought date also stored the time. Print current date. Yeah, it could, yeah, that's what I've heard about tea, and I know coffee definitely is an art as well, which is, well, what brought me to wanting to make this app. So it was running for 7 minutes and 25 seconds, and it printed the date. Yeah, so it has the date. So it could possibly work for coffee. I mean, so this app could possibly also work for tea. That's cool. Then I would have to rename it to Hot Beverage Companion if I focused more on that as well, trying to get it into both ways. If we go here, so we have the old date, the current date, 45 is the bloom time, which is, I don't know where exactly that's being printed. I really need to learn how to use the Xcode like debugger instead of having to print out everything, but I just haven't taken the time to learn the Xcode debugger. But I feel like if I did, that would actually help me quite a bit. And help me so that I didn't just always have to print everything. Bloom time. Command F. Let's see if there's anything else printing. Current. Okay, cool. Brewmate. That's a... I actually like that idea too. If focusing on tea, also maybe name Brewmate. Cool. I like that name, Brewmate. I like it because then that actually fits. Because I really liked the name Coffee Companion, but it didn't fit on the apps on like your home screen on your phone. Like it would just cut off. So like it has now been dubbed Coffee Buddy as like the phone thing. But I do like Brewmate even better for even. All right. Well, that's gonna take some more research outside of this. Yeah, so then why doesn't it do time interval, current date, dot, time interval since old date? Let's just try again. Oh, the integer difference is still 0, though. Test. Done. Cool. Date is 185 from old date, and then that's 185. So I'm guessing that's 185 seconds. 185 divided by 60. Yes, it is. Stop. Okay, but now then, when I stop, is seconds used goes back to 0. Back. Oh, go to test. It goes to 17. Timer second timer last updated equals date. Well, what if I just... No, yeah, okay. Seconds used equals 0, so total seconds. And really, I wouldn't need to do any of this if total seconds does not equal 0. Because if total seconds equals 0, then we can just go ahead and straight to format time. Typing if total seconds equals 0. There we go. Then we can do this. And then we get that 17 difference, which also, where's that 17 coming from? Well, oh, duh, because there. Difference dot. Can I round floating point rounding rule? Truncate. Dot round to the closest allowed value whose magnitude is less than or equal to that of the source. We'll round down. Let's try that again. So now it did 144 because the current date is that. I think that, so if I hit start, stop. Well, if total seconds equals 0, which it does because I hit stop. Back. Let's see, it just kept going though. Why is it still like count? Oh, well, no, because it shouldn't have any total seconds at that point. Like the brew method dot seconds used. Let's try again. Start. Stop. Go back. 0. Okay. I go here, test, still 0. And really, it shouldn't matter if total seconds equals 0, it should be if the timer is going. Because really, it doesn't matter if the total seconds was greater than 0. It really only matters if the timer is going. So if the timer is going, then we need to do that. If the timer is not going, then everything should just equal 0 anyway. Equals true, which I know I don't have to do the equals true, but doing the equals true also is helpful because then it's just for a readability standpoint at that point. I could just say if timer is going and leave it like that, but then it's not as clear that I want it to be 0. Start. Yep. Stop. Back. We're going to clear out the console. Okay. So for some reason, even though I hit stop, we know the timer's false. Let's just do total seconds equals if the timer is going, else total seconds equals 0. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, come on, but the timer is going, so that should equal true, and the current date is not even printing out correctly anymore. Because it's saying it's 20:03, and it shouldn't be. So on disappear, we update. Oh, are we? Let's try putting that in here as well. Self dot is self dot. That way for sure we grab everything. Like I know in theory it should have been updated there. See, it's on disappear. So when is that being set though? Oh, because it's getting updated every time we start the timer. Because we're starting the timer almost at the same time, it's causing issues. Okay, stop. Start. Yep. I hit start again. Come back. Hit start. Or am I even... Or is it because... Where does it get updated? Well, when the VStack goes away. I think I am trying to make this a bit more complicated than it needs to be right now. So I think that I just need to check if timer going is false, and if it is, then we're going to do total seconds equals 0. So I think I'm going down the right path. I think it might just need a little bit more time to think in my head, but I'm gonna just say, to get this, if timer going equals false, and then we want total seconds equals 0. Else is when we can do this. Timer is going, not timer going. Okay, and I think that solves what I was trying to do. I still don't think it completely solves if it gets put into background or not. But it does help when jumping between options. So it's like that's still going 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah. And this was stopped. So I think that's right. All right. So with that being said, and that part being done, I think this is actually a good place to stop code-wise. So we got all that done, which is good. I don't think that is completely done. I'm gonna... call it done for now, but that might come back into a to-do option here. So next week, what do I want to do? So at the end of today, sometime later today, or maybe even early tomorrow, I'll put up another beta and get this typed into an update. You can always find the updates on the Coffee Companion website for now, unless I end up changing the name. Once I end up changing the name, it'd be great. Coffee Companion .apps by MW. You can see the last live stream done here, and then also click to go find the recap of it. Easy access to the Trello board GitHub repo, because all of this is open source. So it's also on my GitHub if you wanted to come in and watch and see exactly what's going on. Here as well, I actually have to update those screenshots because there's a new section added in. And get to everything there if needed. But next week I want to, well, if I'm going to make this more tea-like, or when I say next week, I mean next Monday. This coming Monday, look into ways to work with tea brewing. That's going to be more of like a research thing, but that'll be done off screen. Research needs to happen before and cards added with specific to-dos. Save. Cool. So that's going to be done pretty much before, and there'll be a whole much list here. So if I can find out different ways or different wording that needs to happen for tea brewing, then that's going to be something that gets implemented on Monday, which is, what day is Monday? Monday is the 22nd. Cool. Oh, am I going to want to do it Monday? Dub is Monday. I forgot WWDC is Monday. WWDC, so Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference. What time is Dub? It's at noon, and what time is State of the Union or State of the Platform or whatever it's called? Usually that's at like 4. All right, so actually, the stream for next Monday, I am going to postpone until next Friday. I'll make sure I tweet and stuff about it. The reason being is that next week is WWDC week, and I don't really want to do much app work during WWDC week. Maybe if I stream, I know some of you guys followed me, so if I stream, it's going to probably end up being video games that week, or streaming and talking about like my thoughts on WWDC or a session that I actually saw. So that'll all be fun. But I don't think there'll be any like true app work during WWDC week. Yeah, are you saying hi? Okay. Sorry, that was my cat. She decided to say hi. Yeah, so next Monday, I'll probably do some kind of stream during my normal time slot, but it's probably going to be like a reflection on WWDC rather than actual app development work. And then next Friday, look into ways, alternate icons. I do want to get alternate icons working out. And then whatever to-do items come from look into ways by next Friday will also be there. So yeah, that's what's planned. I'm gonna start this building for my generic device so I can get this onto test flight. If you really wanted to join the test flight, feel free to. You can join from the website link. I'll put it in the chat just so that it's there. But you can join. There's a link in here to join the test flight version. If you wanted to beta test it, you do need iOS 13. I think that is iOS 13.0 is the latest you can be, which is good. Awesome. Again, thanks everyone for coming out, for watching me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the follows and everything. And I will for sure see you on Monday, if not before then, with some Nintendo Switch gaming. Again, thanks so much.